do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
Greetings, tireless, fearless workers for freedom. That's the way I think of you. And pretty sure that's the way that we are. I hope you're having a bloody good day. Has it been warm where you are? Has it been wet where you are? Or maybe a bit in between like it has been here? It is what it is, unfortunately, weather-wise at the moment. We won't get into it any more than that tonight. I will tell you I'm a bit achy and a bit painy. I have got my X39 patch on tonight here at the back. And I've had one on for the last couple of days. God, it makes a difference. I just can't tell you what a difference it makes to me. Energy levels, focus levels, the whole kind of thing. And it helps with the back pain that I've been having recently, a bit of lower back pain. So I know that there is quite a large group of X39 followers on here. And if you're in Brisbane, we're going to catch up and have a drink very shortly. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. Scotty, I see, is in the Rumble chat tonight. So Scotty's keen on catching up for that too. So thanks, mate, for your emails and details from today as well. Now, that brings up something that I want to be able to share with you folks. While I'm thinking about it, you might remember last night we were discussing the National Australia Bank and I've got 50 million windows open. At any rate, I now have that web page back, so I'll have to try and dig that out when I'm not trying to do 50,000 other things at the same time. Who else is in the Rumble chat tonight? G'day, Aussie Power and fellow Rumbers. Dilly was first in there, but in the other chat, and I would just tell you folks that get into the Rumble chat, because if you're on None 2K particularly, that could disappear at any time. Tim was in first tonight. Dave O in just after him. Nice to see the boys in for a change. Usually it's the girls heading the top of the list. Aussie Sue, wonderful to have you back in. We were only talking about you yesterday, and in fact I was talking to Sunflower today and was asking about you. People have been inquiring as to your health and how you are, so I'll try and scan down the chat and catch up at some stage, but I hope things are okay going with you. Who else did I have start in there tonight? No, that was about it so far. G'day to Zippy, and Daniel's back in, Veronique and Angelina. Oh, there's another beautiful name. And who else we got? Sunflower. I did say hello, Sunflower. You gorgeous thing, you. And I hope things are going well in your family too. Andrew, nice to have you in. The Murray River Explorer is back in. I got a lot of Joho stories. Some I can tell you, some I can't. The star of the Courier Mail joins us. Nice to have you in. And what else we got? G'day, Brett. Nice to have you in. I want to kick off tonight with, I was going to kick off with something else, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to read you an email that I got from our good mate Leonard. I've got a few from him in the last couple of days. Len's been trying to put cash to the test around the northern Gold Coast region. And he took a $100 note into a local supermarket. I think it was up in the hinterland. Might have been on Mount Tamborine somewhere. I couldn't be exactly sure. At any rate, they refused to accept his $100 note. They said it wasn't a $100 note at all. Now, Len is a man of a certain age. He's managed to squirrel away a few bucks over the years, and those bucks were at some stage printed on something that wasn't polymer. So the note, the $100 note that he presented, some of you will remember, it was sort of that grey-looking one that had what looked to be a knight on it. Can't remember who was on it. But it wasn't polymer. I think it was one of the last fabric/paper notes that we had before the change over to polymer $100 notes. Now, the kids there at the IGA and anybody else there refused to accept it. It wasn't legal tender, they said. That upset Len a bit. but it also sent him on a bit of a mission. So he went to the cashier at Coles in Upper Coomera today, he tells me, and they refused to take 2 Australian paper banknotes, a $20 and he's written a $30 note. I'll be honest with you, Len, I probably wouldn't have accepted a $30 note either, but I think he meant 50. These notes are those preceding the polymer notes that we have in wide distribution across the continent today. Now, God help us when people who handle money all day do not know their own Australian money. They were all dinky-die looking Aussies, so we cannot blame a different nationality for those problems. I can't blame the young cashier, who is maybe in her late teens, but when she took it to an older woman, whom I suspect would have handled these older notes, that woman showed it to a man much older than her, and he said they were fake. So the older woman turned to the youngster and said, "They're fake." The youngster turned to a woman who looked as though she was a supervisor and who took one look, and she said, "They're fake." So I said very loudly, "They are not fake." And I can imagine Len doing that. Now, Len's a tall man. If you're not sure of Len, he's a tall man. He would have stood out there. So he said, "They are not fake. Don't you even know your own Australian currency?" And the supervisor went away to consult with her higher-ups and then came back and said, "Oh, yes, it was okay to take the funds." So they're making a real battle of cash. I love the way Len is adding that extra little hurdle using cash that isn't, well, current polymer distribution, if you like. And I would caution a few people that the government, I want to say, has made an act somewhere where it will be lawful for a bank to refuse to accept that money. You may as well go home, throw it in the fire. So I would suggest if you're going to do anything with it, maybe gold and silver might be a nice way. You could have a talk to the boys at Ainsley. They've probably got an old note checker there somewhere to make sure that none of it is especially fake. And I'm sure in Len's case, none of it is. Len's a man of extremely high moral standing and high intellectual caliber. He will not be in any way, shape or form involved with anything like that. But that might be my advice, man. I'd go and give that a look. Yes, I've got a new haircut. I'm a little funny about it. I'm not sure I'm quite liking it yet. We'll see what happens. All right, let's continue. I did say it was going to be something of a Titanic show. One of the people, not sure if he's in the show tonight, but I do want to take my hat off to him because I do feel that today Dan Tilders won the internet with this. Will Clive Palmer's Titanic 2 sink or swim? Dan's typed under it, does he plan to invite the corrupt politicians and bankers and then claim the insurance? So, Dan Tilders, you win the internet today. You win the internet today. All right, Coles. Now, I think this is happening in Melbourne, but it will happen everywhere. And it's coming to a Coles and a Woolies and probably an IGA and an Aldi near you real soon. I haven't been able to find out or really confirm much about this, so take it for what it is at this point in time. For me, it's one of those things that really make you go, and wonder about the technology that is being employed around us that is hidden from us at the moment. Now, that technology is being hidden from us for a reason, and we are only stumbling across it at times, it seems. By accident, I think is the best way to place it. And this seems like it could be one of those instances. So this was a post, once again, difficult to check this, so I can't confirm that this is for real, but for some reason, it rings very true with me. And if you walk into Coles and have a look above the doors, you'll find cameras are scanning you as you walk in the door. This poster said, I'm never going to Coles again. While shopping, my partner suddenly needed to go to the toilet. However, the gates wouldn't let her out of the store. So in a panic, she ran around until she found a staff member who unlocked the gate for her. Talking to 3 different staff members about it afterwards, we were told that every time we enter the store, an electronic signature is imprinted on our heads as a red dot that is recognized on their computer screens. Then, when we've paid, that dot turns green and the gates open for us. So 3 questions about this. 1, why were we not told about this when we enter? There's no signs about it at all. 2, what effect does that electronic imprint have on my body? What health implications are there? Does it cause cancer or any other illness? And 3, is this a precursor to the digital currency where we'll be barred from shops if our social credit score isn't up to whatever current standard is? They were going off to ask Coles all those questions. I haven't seen a further post about it. I was in a shopping centre to get the hair done, so I thought I'd go and have a look at Coles just to see if there were cameras in the aisles, and certainly as you come into the store. This store sounds like it has gates barring you from getting out. This strikes me as an inner city, smaller Coles or that sort of store. It's Coles, obviously. I could be wrong, but the evidence that I saw today in what you would call a suburban Coles, a big suburban Coles or a reasonable sized suburban Coles, is that, yes, they are tracking you in the aisle from the moment you walk in the door, pushing your trolley. There is a camera focused on you walking in the door. Now, other than to get you walking in the door for security purposes, I can't understand why they would employ a camera for that, because they got so many other cameras, and the one that catches you stealing something is the one they'll actually show the court, not the one you're walking in the door. So why is there one of you walking in the door? Yes, it is an infrared camera. There are infrared cameras in every aisle of this Coles, multiple numbers of them in the aisle. Those cameras not only tracking you, but capable of tracking everything you are purchasing as well, because who's to say those cameras aren't scanning what you're picking up, reading what you're interested in, and registering whether you are putting it in your basket and walking on and paying for it, or putting it back on the shelf. Otherwise, it may not be at that point yet, because according to this poster, the system recognized that this person hadn't paid for anything. They'd come into the store and hadn't paid for anything and were trying to get out. So, okay, I've walked into Coles before and Woolies before, many supermarkets before, not found what I was looking for and left without buying anything else. All right, may not be a regular occurrence for a lot of people, but if you're on a budget, it's something that happens quite a lot. So what happens to those people? Do they have to run around and find a staff member to prove that they haven't filled up their hands or pants or shirt pockets or whatever with anything so that they can get out of the store? And in this day and age where these big companies are cutting back on actual humans in store, how long it will be before we've got to push a button and we see somebody on the other end of a screen who's going to get us to stand in a certain place so the camera can scan us and make sure we haven't got anything. This shit, you might think it's hilarious, but it's exceptionally serious. And it's being rolled out. So Scotty T in Rumble is telling us that you've seen that happening in Victoria and Queensland stores. So look, I'm sure that stock loss is an issue. Theft is an issue, and I have no problems with retailers trying to protect themselves in that regard. However, what sort of implications does this have for fire security? If there is a fire, do those gates automatically spring open when the fire alarm in the building rings so people can run out of what might be a very dangerous situation? Generally, evacuating the area is what happens when you hear a fire alarm. What if they're all locked in the Coles with their baskets? And put your basket down, try and get out. Doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to get out because the machine says you came in to buy something. They're going to keep you there until you buy it. Because that's what it sounded to this poor lady who nearly pooed herself on the way through, by the sound of it. Or man, don't know. Non-gender specific. So the braver among us might have just gone to the toilet aisle and taken a dump where the toilet paper is, but or maybe gone to the laundry aisle and picked up a bucket on the way. I don't know. Depends on your particular penchant. But I'd be very careful. Look in your Coles or your, well, it doesn't really matter which supermarket. Don't go to bloody Woolworths, all right? Just don't go to bloody Woolworths. I prefer you didn't go to Coles either, but I suppose, got to go somewhere. But if you can avoid at all times going to bloody Woolworths, because they're banking on the fact we're going to forget the way that they treat us, we, the people, the Australians. They're banking the fact that we're going to forget that it wasn't good enough. Our National Day wasn't good enough for Woolworths Corporate, but every other friggin' immigrant's day is. They're happy enough to make money out of something as pathetic as Valentine's Day, and my God, do they make money out of it. But oh no, not out of Australia Day. Won't have any of that. Yeah, Dilly, go to your IGA. And I believe that a lot of people all over sort of the areas I've lived have been going to IGAs for a long time. Well, Murray River Explorer, you do buy toilet paper from Coles. Well, I guess shit companies make good shit paper. What do we say? Bit of fun. Speaking of, well, it's not fun actually. It's rather quite serious. A couple of people have sent me a document that they've been sent by the Commonwealth Bank. This relates to people in Queensland particularly. But right now, it looks like as of the 15th of the 7th, 2025, Commbank will have phased out all its ATMs in Queensland, with other states to follow at a later date. We here at the Commonwealth Bank look forward to what a cashless society will bring to Australia. Now, I know that they are already pulling out ATMs out of Queensland now, and they're planning on having most of them pulled out of Queensland by the middle of this year. Now, they're selling access instead of them having to provide the infrastructure. And if you happen to be a Commbank customer where you don't get charged fees because it's a Commbank telemachine, that's all going to go. They've sold those telemachine rights off to the likes of Armaguard, who now don't deliver cash to businesses. They deliver it to their own ATM machines and charge you anywhere between $2.50, I think, and $4, depending on the provider, for each transaction. And those machines are getting harder and harder and harder to find. So they're driving us away as fast as they possibly can from a cash society. Don't let that happen. Get cash, get gold, get silver. Speaking of gold and silver, I haven't had a look in the last little while, but today there was certainly another big lift in gold. It went over $3,300 again, and silver's up over 37. I'm just looking at the spot price now at ainsley.com.au or ainsleyBullion.com.au. Gold is $32.65. 35 cents, so $3,265.35, and the silver price is $36.59. There has been a phenomenal amount of talk about gold and silver pricing going up and down and up and down, and silver not really doing too much at all. We spoke about it again yesterday, and I've spoken to other people again today about it. This is all part of that cycle, so just if you can get involved would be my personal advice to you. I don't give financial advice, but get some silver behind you at the very least. If you're fortunate enough to be able to get some gold, you could still be on the, general consensus is that you are still on the up climb of this market, particularly in the gold. So it does have a little bit of instability at the moment, but it's not moving a great deal, and the general momentum is up. So bear that in mind. Ainsley tonight are down on the Gold Coast at my place event down there. So g'day to all the folks down there having a big night, and I hope they're getting their money's worth. That'll be bloody great. Pete, what are you up to? My Queenslander mate said today, wrong one, moved on me. Had to close his account. Yeah, right. That's I gather from the Commbank. Yes, if I was to give you any kind of feeling on what I would do if I had a Commonwealth Bank account, what I would do is close it immediately. I would make a hell of a loo about it. I'd make them pay me out in cash, and I would make sure that everybody in that office and everybody in the head office knew. A lot of talk around these posts today have been that the Commbank used to be Australia's bank, and it did. The people used to own the Commonwealth Bank until the Reserve Bank bought it, took control of it, placed control on us through it. So it hasn't been part of the people for a very, very long time. And if you felt that it still was, please don't. Please don't. It's got nothing to do with what you may have grown up with. And if you were anything like me as a kid going to school in the 70s, particularly the early 70s, the local bank would come and give a bit of a talk about how important it was to save money. And they'd give each of you a little money box, plastic one, or maybe tin back in those days. Some were very successful at saving, some weren't so much, but the Commonwealth Bank was in every kid's hand in school in those days. They supplied pens and rulers and some cases, pencil cases, that kind of stuff, and a money box and an account where every week you'd bring your passbook in with 20 cents to put in your bank account. That was the way they taught you how to save back in the day. Now what do? They make you comply. They cover you in debt. There's no need for you to save. We'll give you the money. It's not just the Commonwealth Bank, it's all banks. But if you are in the Commonwealth Bank and you're in Queensland and further afield, it's coming to you, 2025 and beyond, all Commonwealth Bank ATM machines will be withdrawn from service. So, yay. They don't have any tellers behind their counters anymore. How are you going to get your cash? Oh, you'll have to pay by then probably $10, a tax of $10 to get your own money out of an ATM machine provided by a third party under agreement to your banking and financial institution. How to tax us again, how to rob us again. Doesn't it have to end, folks? Can only end if we do something about it. We have to stand up. And that's what is happening right now in local council elections in Queensland. We must have them worried. Mainstream media is writing articles about some of the people who are standing up for local council positions, particularly in the southeast corner of Queensland. Now, we know these people. You know, Camillo is a big member of our family. Michelle is one of our moderators. We know the kind of people they are. You've spoken to them here in the chat. They are wonderful, wonderful people. Now, if you happen to be in Nambour and you need some form of guidance in the way you would vote, I would ask you, shoot up to wherever the nearest polling place is. Have a look, see if you can find Camillo and shake his hand. Have a chat with him, see what sort of a man he is. He is reasonably easy to spot when you find Camillo. I'm just seeing if I've still got his picture in the system here. I might have removed it because I didn't want to embarrass him any further. I think I probably have. But look, think of Super Mario. He just won't be wearing the hat. Okay? That's a good way to look at him. And the lovely Michelle, who will be in the Biggendon area. So she's campaigning for that council, the North Burnett council area. So get behind her if you happen to be in that area. It'd be absolutely wonderful. Be good to see some of our people getting involved, as there are so many across the nation who've climbed on board with My Place and the Voice of Freedom to unify, to come together, to learn and do the right thing by our communities. If you happen to be in one of those communities at the moment where you've got one of those sorts of people standing for your council, then please get behind them this Saturday. Please get behind them in pre-polling so you don't have to be there for the barbecue on Saturday. These people can make a difference. And the more of them we can get put into things from local council to state government to federal government, the better. All right? But you want to take a good look at who wants to stand up, who wants to raise their hand, and if you genuinely believe they're working for the people and not for themselves. Sometimes folks can speak with a forked tongue. So use your discernment. But it's an important time. If you have those sorts of people right now in your community, particularly in Queensland, make sure you get onto them. Get behind them, support them. And if you don't know them, go and meet them beforehand, because they will look after you they'll look after all of us, because they are of us. They are about the people, for the people. So, yeah, Mick, you found your old school bank book many years ago. Went to the CBA, they checked it and said you owed them hundreds of dollars in fees. Yep, that's about how it worked. Aussie Power was on Rumble chat saying, worked on a huge project at the Brisbane International Airport. Yeah, I saw most of that project myself. 2007. In 2007, the Brisbane Airport Corporation owned ATMs, $7 per transaction. That was back then. Whoa. Wow. That stings. $7. God almighty. Everything's so much more expensive at airports. Big T on the chat in Cairns News Rumble channel. G'day to everybody from Cairns News. Can I just tell you, Cairns News are doing some awesome stories at the moment. If you haven't been to cairnsnews.org, please do so. Go and have a little bit of a look. I'll bring up a screenshot now so you can get a bit of an idea of the kind of stuff that is up there. Check this out. We were talking about keeping cash in the legal tender. There is a petition going on for that at the moment. You won't find any shyness talking about the jab and what is suspected of causing a bus driver to lose control and kill a young girl in Brisbane last week. Absolutely tragic. National Centre objects to Bob Catter taking on Woolworths and nearly gets knocked out. Go and read that story, folks. Bob Catter cleans this bloke up like a train, I can tell you. It is, well worth the read. So as you can see, there's a whole heap of stories that aren't just North Queensland focused. Cairns News has been telling the truth to not just far North Queenslanders for a very long time. They've got a global audience, and we thank them for the partnership they've come involved with us and our ability to spread the message a little bit wider. Look forward to coming up and working very closely with the guys in far North Queensland next month and maybe a month or two after that. Dusty, what's this? You're making excuses for banks? Well, probably not. Don't forget your bank pays an interchange fee as well if you used other banks. I think interchange fees were dismissed by group arrangement, particularly between the big four banks, a little while back. International transfers will be a little bit different in that regard, but the actual charges the banks charge between themselves have been dismissed. That's why there's no money in it for them to have ATMs anymore. So it's only a cost to them. They're not making money out of us supplying that machine because they're not charging us a fee to use it. And they're not getting any of the fee for one of the third-party owned machines. So there is no financial advantage to them actually having to fork out for the hardware of the ATM machine if they're not going to be able to charge us for using it. That's their mindset. So they sell off all their ATMs and they say, oh, yeah, you, Armour Guard, or you, whatever the next, breed of ATM machine holder there is, you can have our site. You can put your machine in there and you can charge whatever the hell you like. All right. Now, most of them charge $2.50 or $3. I've seen some as many as $4. And clearly, some as much as 7 some years ago. I can't imagine what that fee might be at a bank, one of those machines at the airport today. If in fact you are allowed to have those machines in the airport today, they probably don't want you having cash there either. Yeah, pretty weird, pretty weird. Cookhouse, thanks for coming in on the Rumble chat and being there. Have yourself a good night too. Looks like you're heading off. Cash goes down in value. Silver is going up. Daniel, you are 100% on the money there. Always nice to have a little bit of cash on hand, but if you can put what you think is valuable paper into what really is valuable precious metals, you'll find yourself in a much, much better position. And Ainsley will be coming with us into far north Queensland when we head north. And we are at the moment organising a tour into Victoria before we head north. So the bus is going to do a few Ks in the next couple of months down to Victoria. I think toward the end of April, we'll be starting somewhere in the last week of April and doing a couple of weeks down there before heading back up to far north Queensland and seeing what I hope to be will be a very enlightening journey. There are some truly amazing stories I'm looking forward to bringing you from different places around Queensland, but particularly far, far, far north Queensland. There's a lot of hidden history up there that we have not had told to us. So, yeah, Black Sheep, one of the blokes I highly respect in this movement, folks. He's a very quiet man. He pops into the chat occasionally, but he is full of wisdom. If he's telling you a bit about the Bible or if he's explaining a bit about precious metals, I would say to you, listen up. Just a tip between you, me, and the gatepost. G'day, brother. I hope you're doing well. I hope it's warmed up in Tassie. You finally got a couple of days of summer before you plough back into what is, winter, let's be honest. For a Queenslander, absolutely. Logbook the bus. Mate, I'll be noting all the kilometres, but being a motorhome, even at my tonnage, I don't have to run a logbook. So that's both, well, yeah, that's pretty good. I do tend to have to go through the weigh bridges, but they move me on pretty quick. I'm never been stopped. I have been threatened with fines, but I have never been stopped. Black Sheep had another one. Get rid of the cash. It'll be worth nothing. Buy gold and silver. Yep, that is absolutely the plan. They will defraud you of any value out of your paper money. And if you haven't converted into something of actual value, and just look at history, or at least the history we think we can believe, the only constant and the only thing that I believe will be proved to be a constant in history is the value of gold and silver, the value of precious metal. Right from the beginning of commerce, gold, precious metal, was the base trade. It will go back to that. It always has to. A lot of countries are buying gold. There's a lot of things going on in the world at the moment with precious metal purchases, to say the least. And I'm hopeful that we'll have somebody we can talk to more about that in the next little while. They're overseas at the moment and a little bit difficult to get to. I came across some interesting information today, and if Vince has been pretty busy the last couple of days, and I think he's actually having a bit of a kip tonight. If he's not, he's woken up and gone straight to a meeting. I have asked him to post up some information on the VOFHQ website to do with magnetic fields. Now, this is a reasonably recent image that indicates the world is an interesting shape, but it has some interesting colors to it. Now, the blue bit that you can see down the bottom there is a representation of where the poles essentially should be, or a pole should be. The two red areas with the two centers that you can see are an indication of where the actual magnetic fields are at this point in time. And they appear, for all intents and purposes, to be moving. Now, that's probably not totally unexpected. There have been many theories on the magnetic influences going on from the sun on the earth. Now, a lot of those theories have indicated that the world could be in for something of a pole shift. Now, this photo here, and I'll mention this for everybody who wants to talk about flat earth or round earth. The person who sent me this, or we were talking about this, I found this image somewhere else, but we were talking about this and they said it's a very good image to explain one thing. The earth isn't flat or round, it's a donut. And if you think of it in magnetic terms, that is exactly what the earth is. It doesn't matter if it's flat or round, because the magnetic waves tell the story. Now, at the moment, the sun is putting out a lot more magnetic waves, for the want of a better term. We talked the other day about skin and how walking out into the sun, I feel it burn, particularly my right arm, almost immediately. So the same person that got me thinking about all of this stuff sent me some interesting information. Point one, the stinging you feel is due to the sun putting out more UVC, which has a stronger penetrative power than UVA and B, which are the only ones we ever hear about. Tick, 100% right. Never heard of UVC. The sun is going through other changes, including color. Yes, if you're a bit of a sun watcher, you will understand what they're talking about there. It is turning from yellow, which it was back when we were kids, into now a white color. There is an interesting biblical correlation to all of this. Black Sheep might enlighten a few people with that in the chat if he feels the urge. I got a little bit dodgy when the IPPC was mentioned, that they had added, forced by scientists in brackets, additional parameters for the modeling of weather for the interim reports. However, unsurprisingly, they simply ignored all that, including solar particle forging. Google that. Well, don't Google it. Go to something that's a bit better, a Brave or DuckDuckGo or something. But go and educate yourself and find out what solar particle forcing is. The reason that they ignore that then is that these additional parameters completely negate the effects of CO2 on climate. So if they let us know these things existed, it would prove that there is no effect on the climate because they negate any effect on the climate. 4, the main driver is the drop in the magnetosphere, which was flagged 10 years ago by Swarm's lead scientist, who was then sacked for spilling the gravy everywhere. This reduction in our shield, that's the magnetic shield around the Earth, to extraterrestrial radiation, both cosmic and solar, is the main driver for climate change. Do you want me to read that bit again? The main driver is the drop in the magnetosphere. That's the main driver. That was flagged 10 years ago by a Swarm, which is a group of scientists that study this shit, lead scientist, who was sacked then because he told the world about it. This reduction in our shield to extraterrestrial radiation, both cosmic and solar, is the main driver for climate change. This is a topic all of its own, but prompted an email as a recent US Air Force officer's master's degree thesis was released, which backs all of the Swarm releases just 1 year later in 2015 or more. Now, if Vince is awake, he probably has already posted that on the VOFHQ website. That entire thesis is there for you to have a look at, produced in 2015. It is quite a lengthy read, but boy, are there some interesting things in it, really interesting things in it. There's also a couple of other links that I've sent through to Vince that I hope he will post up in line with this to give you a little bit more information. But as it turns out, it seems that there is a lot more to this climate change malarkey than even we have dared to believe. It could be much bigger, much more severe. Now, folks who've been following the whole pole shift, magnetosphere change phenomenon for some time have been warning, and many are acting on, the theory that a lot of the Earth is going to move. Now, this image that I showed you, these two red areas that are meant to indicate at least the North and South Pole, seem to be converging, and they're converging into or around the area of India. So if the Indians know something, no wonder they all want to come and live here, let's be honest. But when this happens, the Earth is going to rotate, shift on its axis somewhat. Yes, it will be cataclysmic. Cataclysmic. Unless you are prepared for it. And a lot of Australians are. They've gone and bought high ground, right? They're buying land that is protected from the ocean. They're getting as high as they can, even though some are still relatively close to the ocean. They are getting as high away from it as they can, with natural barriers between them and the ocean. These people are very specific in what they're looking for, because this is what they're aware of. Now, I'm not suggesting for one moment that that is a reason that you might go out and buy a property like Witherin or the new property that Cass and the girls have been involved with. But I will say it's a happy coincidence that these properties tick all those boxes, right? So they've got elevation. They've got natural land barrier protection. They are a good distance away from the actual ocean. Even a big tsunami is going to need to be very, very, very big to get as high up or as far to these sorts of folks. And this is happening around the world. Australia isn't known for its tall mountains. So we would hope at the end of any of this, we will have a pole shift. But we have seen pictures of what this is meant to look like. I've shown them here on the show. Think of Australia turned left on its axis and using Perth as the anchor point. That would mean that Perth will become subtropical. New South Wales will become tropical, and parts of what would be the Cape York area and associated other bits, assuming it all doesn't break apart while this is happening, will be sort of subtropical. Victoria will be subtropical. So, yeah, going to be some interesting times ahead if that were to happen. Be prepared, get to higher ground. I wouldn't go panicking yet. And if you are feeling a little bit anxious about it, just ask yourself, what can you change? And the answer is absolutely nothing at this stage, because it doesn't matter whether we vote the bastards in or we vote the bastards out and we put sane human beings back in. This is something that is beyond our control. And it has been predicted for a very long time to come. Maybe this is the cataclysmic event we're all meant to be here for. The spiritual event we're all meant to be here for. It's a bit confronting when you've got to think of it like that. But we're brave. That's why we're here. And we're a family. So if you're not feeling the bravery, if you're not, feeling the courage, if you are feeling a bit anxious about this sort of thing, reach out. There are plenty of us that will help you. All right? There's no point in being anxious. You can be prepared. You can be prepared. And if you say, look, I can't afford to go and buy a mountaintop retreat. Well, no, you're quite right. Neither can I. But the nice thing that I'm finding about many of the people who are buying these sorts of retreats is that they're not buying them just for themselves. They're buying them for many people, to have enough room to help save many people. So look around, make friends, join groups, learn. May not happen in our lifetime, but I kind of do believe that it is going to happen. Now, Apple have had a bit to answer for recently. God knows, we know they've had a lot to answer for. But right now, Apple need to, I think, explain why they're putting bugs in your head. Do you own a pair of earpods? This is very interesting. This is a patent application from, a little while back, 2022. So these AirPods, if not already the latest version and in your ears, will be coming to an ear hole near you soon. You might want to be very wary about shoving them in your bonds because they have a lot of sensors in them, a lot of switching, a lot of electronics and electrodes. Okay. I know you're probably having a very hard time reading that document up close. I've tried to clean it up a bit, and it's difficult. I can't even read it when I blow it up. So I'm going to go and try and find the original. This was sent to me late this afternoon, and I'll find out a bit more. But the details that I do know about it is that there are a huge amount of these sensors, as you can see indicated on the diagram. These electrodes are working with the electronic field of your body and interacting with your brain. Do you think this could be a good thing? Or do you think there might be reason for some concern? Just a little bit, maybe. I would say just a little bit, but who knows? Who knows? Now, the other night, Darren Bergwerth came on. I don't know if Darren's still in the chat. The other night, Darren came on. He was telling us about a document that he'd received regarding a call to block the highways at some point in April. He claimed at the time that he didn't know who wrote it. I think he probably had a pretty good idea at the time. He just didn't want to tell me. But the next day, he managed to tell Commo John, all right. They had a bit of a chat with the author of this document. I saw John's comment on the whole thing, and I tend to agree with him. In fact, I've got some serious issues with the document and the way that it's written. We discussed that, and that's for that reason why we never posted it. John's assessment of it, and he's done some asking around in his part of the world too, I guess, is that the author of the document isn't capable of bringing off what he's claiming he can bring off. And look, no one person I think is capable of doing it, to be quite honest. I don't think one person is. I think it has merit, but the feedback that John received was that the nation's not ready for it yet. So I find all that a bit interesting. But when will the nation be ready? How many more eyes do we need to open? When will the division end? We all come together so we can open more eyes together. That's what we need. More unity, less forked tongue. Let's hope that happens. Because it would be quite tragic to see the momentum that has been gained in so many areas lost for no good reason. And to fall into what could be a baited trap. My feeling on that document right from the get-go was that it was seditious. And if I had have read it out or posted it up on the website, I could be labelled as that. Darren, whether through prior knowledge, good sense, or good favour, stopped just prior to reading the bit that could be construed that way when we presented it. I was thankful for that. Yeah, it's an interesting document, but I don't think that there's going to be too much happening in April for that stoppage, unfortunately. We do need to do something, though. The people have to stand up. The bloody government isn't going to help us. But we do need a few more people on our side of the fence, don't you think? Is that a red pill event? Beware the Ides of March. The 15th of March is the Ides of March, in case you were wondering. And let me see if I can show you a little bit more about the Ides of March. So from Wiki, it's all about the Roman Empire, the 74th day of the Roman calendar, which is the 15th of March. It was marked by several religious observances, and it was the deadline for settling debts in Rome. It also happened to be the day in 44 BC, where Caesar was murdered on the steps of the Roman Senate by 60 plus of his fellow senators. Interestingly, a truth seer had told him a couple of days beforehand, beware the Ides of March. It could be your end. And as Caesar was making his way to the Senate that day, he went past this truth teller on the road, and he pulled up and said to him, apparently, "'Tis the Ides of March, and I am still here. The Ides of March have come, and I'm still here." And the old truth teller said, "Aye, the Ides of March have come, but they have not yet gone." And he arrived at the Senate and was stabbed walking up the steps. So that was the beginning of the end of the Roman Empire. At that stage, the most powerful empire on the planet, the most advanced empire on the planet, the most control over the most people anywhere in the world. And now, it did take a couple of years. It didn't happen overnight with the death of Caesar. It took about another 10 or 15 years for the Roman Empire to be completely disassembled, if you like, by one of Caesar's offspring. I think we're going to see a much more rapid tearing apart of this empire. And I think we're going to see that begin with the likes of Bitcoin, gold, and silver in the markets. We've been talking about it for I don't know how long. If you're not into it yet, I don't know what more we've got to do to convince you that even if nothing does happen in this period, you are still better off owning gold and silver and having it in your hand than you are having a big, fat super fund sitting in a big, fat super company's bank account that is paying you absolutely shitful interest on your lifetime investment, and you're getting cleaned up. Something like that, which is the Ainsley Bullion half-ounce Tree of Life round. It's not a coin, it's a round. That'll set you back at, I think, about $25 at the moment. This one is a silver, 1 ounce silver round, same Tree of Life, if I turn it up the right way. Now, that one will cost you, I think, around $40. When I got those two, I think this was 21. I think this was, I want to say $36, $34 maybe. And I got them not all that long ago. So they're making money while just sitting here in this little bag. Now, okay, I'm not going to become a millionaire out of the coins that I hold. Should there be this great boost in silver prices, you've got to be the right kind of jockey to ride it and ride it and ride it and then get off it at the right time. And I'm afraid I just do not have those sorts of skills. I'll get what I get out of it and be thankful for it. But there are those amongst us who have invested a lot more in this than I have. As I keep saying, I know a bloke who's got 600 kilos of silver. Aside from figuring out how to store it, he's very concerned about being able to offload it at the peak in time, because that is his retirement fund, essentially. So, and yeah, he's a fairly young man. He plans on having a long and very happy retirement. God love him for it. So if you're lucky enough to be in that position, yep, great. If you aren't already doing so, then maybe coins like this, and I've heard from some folks who took my advice recently down in the Hunter, and were going off to a family event, or it might have been Christmas actually, and they bought all the kids in the family a coin for Christmas. Rather than having to go out and buy individual toys and all that sort of stuff, they were given a coin, a silver coin. And they were allowed to look at it, and they got the shiny bug, and how beautiful it all is. And then it went into the safe. And they made that a big deal for the kids, putting it into the safe, keeping it because it's valuable. It's valuable. And they're teaching little kids this. It's a wonderful lesson. A wonderful lesson. More so than buying your kid the latest bloody Xbox or the latest Apple iPhone that's going to spy on you or do God knows whatever else. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you get into precious metals. And, of course, our friends at Ainsley Bullion are, I reckon, the best in the country at helping you to do that. There are different ways of getting in. Sure, you can go into collectibles and all that sort of stuff. And I know Pete in the chat is right into all that sort of stuff. Ainsley, while they do certain collectibles, they don't do the whole wide gamut of them. And there are some magnificent coins out there to collect. But trust me, Ainsley have a pretty nice offering that you can go and check out. And that's the thing. You can walk in and go and check them out. If you happen to be in Brisbane or in Melbourne, you can go into their offices and you can handle the silver, handle the gold. You can feel a kilo of gold. I was lucky enough to feel a kilo of gold yesterday for the first time, I think, really. Now that was I think they're $116,000 today, a kilo of gold, and just keeping going up. So if you can get into gold and you're lucky enough to have that sort of money and you need a kilo of it, then yip yah to you, good on you. Also, if you have an interest in crypto, then I highly recommend that you go to the ainsley.com.au website and register for their newsletter, because you will find a huge amount of information from Paul in there about crypto and how that's all working at the moment. Obviously, Bitcoin is still going up. It seems to be setting new records on a daily basis. It has dropped a little bit today, and therefore we've seen a little drop in gold as well. I got a message from, and this has got to be funny to a lot of you. You'll remember that QSI sent through some funds to buy XLM and to be involved in some of those offerings that they put forward. I dutifully set the app up on the phone and everything else you need. It's a lobster wallet. Now it won't open. Can't open it. For some reason, it doesn't recognize my password. Herein lies my problem with crypto. I didn't change the password. So, and I didn't change. Why would I change the freaking password and then not know that I've changed the password? So it makes no sense, the argument that I changed my own password on my lobster wallet. And I can tell you that I didn't, because I am that lazy. I pick it up, it looks at me and says, oh, yes, you're Carl, and then it opens. But no, it wanted to do a security check. I had to put in my password, and now it doesn't recognize my password. I know him. I don't know him. I know of a gentleman who follows this program, and sir, I feel for you. I feel for you in such a way. In 2012, this gentleman bought $500 worth of Bitcoin once, and then bought another $500 worth of Bitcoin a couple of days later. So altogether, he spent, or invested, if you like, $1,000 in Bitcoin. That was in 2012. At the time, that bought him 12 and a half Bitcoins. Yep. Can remember everything to get into his account, except something to do with the password. He does remember the password, but there's another little hiccup, a hashed password or something that he's got no idea of. How much would that account be worth today? I think it would be worth many millions of dollars. Probably a couple of $1 million anyway. How would that gentleman feel? Sir, God, I feel for you. I feel for you. XRP, yeah, things are certainly moving in the world of XRP at the moment. And if you have listened to the advice from QSI, and if you've done the courses, no, Emily, I haven't done the course yet. I'm sorry, Jane. That will tell you that this is pretty normal. So I'm very interested in trying to figure out whether or not I can ever get back into this lobster account. And if I do, what'll be in it? And if I can't, what does that do for people like me who have no confidence in this crypto system for just this reason? Now, I'm going to say, through no fault of my own, because I cannot, and I'm willing to identify my own faults, but I cannot identify how I've screwed this up somehow, right? I just simply cannot. There is no logical way that something that worked for months and months and months and months and months now doesn't, without any input from me. And if the government is expecting me to invest my 6.5 bloody gold and silver, or silver coins, I don't have any gold, my 6.5 coins into the digital realm, and expect me to rely on my piece of shit 5 or 6 year old Apple iPhone and some friggin' app to get me through life with my life savings, you've all got a lot of convincing to do to get me involved. A lot. Because this is shit as far as I'm concerned. Lobster is shit as far as I'm concerned. Crypto is shit as far as I'm concerned. Because if you can be locked out of your account for doing nothing about it, it's shit. There's no other word for it. I prefer to go out on the road and play with the dickheads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!